They're the most successful club in European history, but back in the day, they had to build from the ground up. From embarrassing defeats to the biggest saga of the early 2000s.
It's still Raul for three.
This is the entire history of Real Madrid. And at the beginning, Madrid wasn't even a football team. They were an academic institution. Real Madrid go back. I mean, way back. They were originally found in 1897, when football was introduced to Madrid by some members of the academic students and staff of the Free Institution of Education. These guys ended up creating the Sociedad Sky football team in the same year. But by 1900, a fight broke out between some members of the team. It made a faction, and the new guys decided to name their team the Nueva Sociedad de Fútbol. By October 1901, the Nueva Sociedad de Fútbol team was now being seen as the Real Madrid we know today. Between 1901 to 1902, they played at the Moncloa, then the El Solar de Estrada, and then the Tiro de Pichon. The stadium changes continued, but by now, the news members had pressing issues to deal with. They needed a new name for their team. On the 6th of March 1902, the Padres brothers, leaders of the faction that the new Madrid broke out from, proposed the name Madrid Football Club, picked the team's official kit color to be white, and along with 28 other socios, Madrid Football Club was officially formed. 3 years later, in 1905, Madrid Football Club won its first trophy. They beat Athletic Bilbao in the Spanish Cup final, the start of something special. By 1909, Madrid had signed the foundation agreements of the Spanish FA, and what this meant was they were now a member team of the Spanish Football Association. Notice how to this point I've been referring to them as the Madrid Football Club. There's a reason for that. See, at this time, the official name of the team was Madrid Football Club, the initial name they'd gotten from the founding year of 1901. By 1920, it all changed, thanks to this guy, King Alfonso XIII. Now, what did he have to do with this? Well, it was in 1920 that he granted the title of Royal to Madrid. Translate this, and that's how the name the world is very familiar with came into existence. Real Madrid Football Club. Right, so they've got the name and kits all sorted now. It's down to the football. In 1929, the first Spanish football league started, and honestly, Real Madrid should have won it. They led the league up until the final day, but in the final game of the season, they lost to Athletic Bilbao. And this, in reality, kicked off a rivalry that would become eternal. Barcelona won the league instead, and it wasn't until the 1931-32 season Madrid finally became league champions. Once they finally got a taste of what Spanish league success was, they didn't stop. The following campaign, they became the first team to win the league back-to-back. The next 2 years, though, they were runners-up again, and they had been itching to regain their status as La Liga champions. But over the course of the next 2 seasons, the Spanish Civil War happened, meaning no league football was played in Spain for the period the war was going on. And by the time the Civil War had ended and club football was back, the next significant piece of Madrid's history was the El Clásico of 1943, a scoreline that remains staggering in football history.
Real Madrid, el pase en profundidad para Emilio Butragueño y el gol de Mitchell.
They beat Barcelona 11-1. A new dawn was at the club, the start of an era with a name that would become synonymous in Madrid's history. In that year, Santiago Bernabeu became president of the club, and under him, Madrid as an enterprise expanded. He rebuilt the club after the Civil War, and it was under him the club's youth academy was created. But perhaps the most significant achievement under Bernabeu was this: the creation of Madrid's legendary home, the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. By the time 1953 rolled around, Madrid had become so big, they started a policy they'd resume years later, and that was signing the best players in the world to play for the team. Names like Alfredo Di Stefano, Ferenc Puskás, and Santillana. All these guys became associated with the white kit of Madrid, and the club flourished. During Bernabeu's 35-year spell as Madrid president, they won 6 European Cups, the first in the 1956-57 season.
Y ahora vamos por el cuarto y último del tanteo español, cuya perfecta ejecución corresponde al gran Héctor Rial. El Madrid está ya aupado en el primer campeonato europeo de fútbol.
16 league titles at this point didn't just make them the most decorated team in Spain, but one of the biggest in the world. 6 Spanish Cups too. But by 1978, Bernabeu unfortunately died. New president Luis de Carlos emerged as president. But that didn't stop the club from winning. By 1980, Madrid was once again in the history books. France Football magazine had named them as the best European team of the year. The 1982 World Cup finals held in Spain saw the final match played at the Bernabeu. On the field though, things were different. Club legend Alfredo Di Stefano had returned as head coach of Real, but the failure to achieve any real sporting success meant he was sacked and told to leave. Madrid still managed to win their first 2 UEFA Cup titles against Videoton and Con. The 1980s on a whole was a truly great period for Madrid. They won 2 UEFA Cups and 5 La Liga titles in a row. But on the European scene, Madrid needed more. At this point, AC Milan had now become the dominant force in European football. And it was so crazy that even when Madrid appointed Fabio Capello as manager in 1994, Capello left after 1 year, and the search for European glory was on. It sounds strange to even think about it, but if Real Madrid as a football club had gone 22 years without winning the Champions League in its old format, the European Cup,
that Real Madrid have been waiting for. Mijatovic makes it 1-0.
They managed to win it in 1998, beating Juventus in the final. But the managerial chance at the club by the end of the year highlighted the instabilities going on in Madrid. Despite the success of the club on the European stage, they won the Champions League again in 2000. They'd gone through 8 different managers in 4 years. That's at least 2 managers every year. By 2000 though, things were set to take a new turn. Let's just call it the start of the Real Madrid era the world has now become familiar with. Florentino Perez, a man synonymous with Madrid's success over the last 20+ years, but his rise to the top as president of the club was based on a lie. In the year 2000, Perez announced his bid to run for Real Madrid's presidency, and amongst promises like helping the club get rid of its debt and improving the club's facilities, Perez's campaign was based on an impossible dream. He promised the Madrid socios and fans that if elected as president, he would get Luis Figo, the best player in the world at the time.
Si yo soy presidente del Real Madrid, Luis Figo, jugador del Real Madrid.
And star man of arch rivals Barcelona to come over to Madrid to play for Real. Perez made the media and fans believe it was a done deal, while in reality, it wasn't. A lot still had to take place for this to happen, but in the end, he somehow made it work. Perez was elected as the new president of Real Madrid, and days later, he made good on his promise. Figo to Madrid happened. The signing of Figo to the team began the start of the Galacticos 2.0, just as they signed players like Di Stefano and Ferenc Puskás back in the day. Perez wanted to continue this policy, and in return, he signed the best players in the world wearing that iconic Madrid kit. Zinedine Zidane from Juventus for a world record fee of 77.5 million euros in 2001. Ronaldo Nazario from Inter Milan 1 year later in 2002, Follow that up with David Beckham from Manchester United in 2003, and Madrid had now assembled one of the best teams in the world, on paper at least. The football at the start of the 2000s was decent. They won the champions in 2000 and 2002, including that iconic Zidane goal in the final versus Leverkusen. But after winning another league title in 2003, it cooled off. For the next 3 seasons, they failed to win any major trophies. Instead, Barcelona had now risen to nearly the same heights as Madrid, and the internal inquest began. By 2006, Perez was out. Ramon Calderon was appointed as the new president of the team, and he immediately began work on making sure Madrid regained its status as the apex team in Spain. New signings like Fabio Cannavaro and Ruud van Nistelrooy came along, and it worked to a certain extent. They were once again champions of the league at the end of the season, the first one in 4 years, beating Barcelona in a final day showdown for the league. But throughout the next 2 seasons, as a team, Madrid hit one of the all-time lows in the club's history. They crashed out twice in the Champions League round of 16 stage, were knocked out of the Copa del Rey to Real Union from the 3rd tier, and to make it worse, that 6-2 defeat to Barcelona at the Nou Camp all but confirmed Barcelona's status as the new superpower in Spain. Madrid had fallen off. They needed to bounce back and become the team and force they were all those years back. So they retraced their roots and brought back a familiar face at the head of affairs. Perez was back for a second term, and this one was bound to be epic. The Galacticos era was on again. This time the 3.0, and in it, Madrid made a huge statement.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
So getting him in direct competition was a signal of what the club was trying to achieve. Ronaldo wasn't the only marquee signing to arrive that season. Kaká came in from AC Milan, and Karim Benzema from Lyon. The big-name signings didn't exactly translate to immediate success on the field. In fact, they were trophyless the next campaign. Top. Jose Mourinho took over as manager in 2010. But his first 6 months didn't exactly go according to plan. Lost 5-0 to Barcelona in El Clásico. Still, they won the Copa del Rey that season. And by 2012, Mourinho's Madrid had become one of the most exciting teams in the world. They became the first team to reach 100 points in La Liga after winning the league. But back in Europe, the Champions League was now the main priority. 3 successive semi-final defeats in 3 years meant they'd come so close but couldn't achieve it yet. Not until 2014. Mourinho was gone now, and the Italian at the helm whirled magic. La Decima came in grand style. Cristiano Ronaldo shattered records along the way, and after that Champions League win, it seemed like Madrid was now at the top, ready to stay. But 1 year later, their rivals were back in full force. Barcelona won the treble for the second time in 6 years. Madrid's response? Perez got a club legend back in the dugout. The appointment of Zinedine Zidane as the head coach, start of something special. In that period, Madrid won the champions back-to-back-to-back, a league title in 2017. During that period, they had the BBC, Benzema, Bale, and Ronaldo, a potent attacking force scoring goals. Ronaldo at this point had now become a certified legend at Real. He was the club's all-time top scorer with 454 goals in 450 games. Incredible. In midfield, Casemiro, Toni Kroos, and Luka Modric formed what Carlo Ancelotti referred to as the Bermuda Triangle. The ball quite simply never left their feet. Sergio Ramos, a stalwart of the team since 2005, was paired with either Pepe or Varane for the large part of his time at Real. Players like Marcelo, Dani Carvajal, all these guys contributed to Madrid truly dominating on a global scale. As has been the case throughout Madrid's history, another era of change followed. Cristiano Ronaldo and Zinedine Zidane left, and between 2018-19 and 2020-21, even though there was a La Liga title the season in between, Madrid looked different. The team needed a rebuild, so Perez got Ancelotti back at the helm for a second spell. And since that period till now, the dominance of this Madrid team has been in full flow. They're the best team on the continent. They've got the trophies to show for it. 2 Champions League wins in 2022 and 2024. They've got the best players in the world on their team. Vinicius Jr. has been steadily delivering at least 20 goals and assists for the past 3 seasons. Players like Jude Bellingham and Luka Modric, the most decorated player in the club's history with 27 trophies, underscore just how much a legacy the club owns now. And they're not slowing down anytime soon. They got Kylian Mbappe a few weeks back, and he got off the mark at his new club. This Madrid team simply won't stop at all. It's in their history. It's their DNA.